one. Number two, find out if these doctors who have produced these reports drink or don't drink. If they drink, then they are likely to say this. If they don't drink, they are unlikely to say this. Third, find out if there is who is the supporter of this research. If it is a alcohol manufacturing company, then you can understand why the results are like that. Now, such kind of scams are, I'm only giving you one little example which is easily understood. Such moral scams in science are plenty. Another cause of dismay. Then let's look at the political scene in the world. After World War II, Cold War emerged between two political philosophies, capitalism and communism. Capitalism validates monopoly of resources, that you can gather as many resources as you like. It is certainly your monopoly. And second thing it says, it was by personal freedom. And I asked here several people, what is the meaning of freedom? I said, freedom means I can do what I like. Then I asked him, supposing you like to kill somebody. He said, no, not that kind of things. I said, what kind of things? He said, ordinary kind of things. I said, no, you should have freedom to do what you ought to do, not what you want to do. And he said, what is the criterion of ought? That is another dismay. People don't know the criterion of what we ought to do. That is what dismays us. Our youngsters don't know. The third thing that happened, I went to Moscow. On the airport, my wife and I were held with our little child. And my child said, I want water. So I thought nobody would provide us water here. We'd go to kiosk and ask him, you have Coca-Cola? He looked at me. That was several years ago. He looked at me with great paranoia. Didn't answer. I asked once again. And a man from behind her came forward and said, wait! And then a policeman comes, takes us to the side, put our hands against the wall, searches us, then finds nothing, then asks us to sit on this bench. We sat there. And won't let me move from there. There are two sentries, put one on either side. I thought, let me cry. So I started yelling. Then came an officer with our passport, because our passport had already been taken. He looked at me, he looked at the passport. You doctor? I said, yes. Why Coca-Cola? Now then, in those days, Russia would not have anything American with it. So I happened to ask for Coca-Cola. That was the sin that I had made. Now, that was the situation during the Cold War. Unfortunately for the USSR, Afghanistan more or less killed them. They disintegrated. I don't know what Afghanistan is like. The only one who ever could enter and win part of Afghanistan was Hari Singh Nalwa. The Britishers couldn't do anything, the Russians couldn't do anything, and now you can be sure that this country can't do anything. So, communism is concerned with equitable distribution of resources instead of monopolizing resources individually. But the equitable distribution is interesting. They say, if you have more, I have a right to snatch it from you. And even if I have to kill you, it is all right. And that is what they call bloody revolution. That is one of the dicta. Now, if bloody revolution as a dictum And if you look at the history of communism, thousands of people have been killed. Anyone who would not agree with them either to leave USSR or be assassinated or put into the mental hospital. Because one who doesn't agree with them is certainly mad, let him go to the hospital. That has been happening in USSR. Now, and in USSR there was no freedom, nor is there in China. You are given dicta and you have to obey. Now then, thinkers of the world started thinking that so long as these countries exist, there will be wars. If there can be, because now the communications are so rapid and the influence of dicta are so great on one community and another community. Cultures are mingling, enculturation and eculturation are taking place. Why not we have a world government? And that was really put forward very seriously. One of them was Bertrand Russell, a British philosopher of great repute during the 20th century. And he was joined by many philosophers. But what was the block? The block was patriotism. Patriotism had been considered one of the great virtues in the past. And therefore patriotism is relevant to only one country, that is your country. And patriotism in effect is an incipient declaration of war on your neighbors. One of the Punjabi poets has said, "Alan-e jang hai zalim shabad watan mera." Now, that is the situation but patriotism was against a world government. But some of the sensible countries thought, let's get together. So the European community welded themselves together as a model or as a precursor of a world government. How countries can get together and cooperatively function. Now then, since the World War II, we have had how many wars? Korea, Palestine, Israel, Africa, Iraq, Afghanistan, everywhere more or less, even in other countries. So actually, after Second World War, there has not been a stoppage of war. Wars have continued. And now, another face of war has emerged. Terrorism. It's a terror. Now there is a world war of terrorism and against terrorism. There is public terrorism and there is state terrorism. Unfortunately, state terrorism, there are no dicta against state terrorism. It's only against public terrorism. State can do any terror, no problem. That is the inequality in our observation on terrorism. And if you look at it, state terrorism has been far more cruel than public terrorism. That is something we need to keep in our minds. And another thing has happened. The present terrorism has a religious face. It is an inter-religious strife. The Muslim terrorists avow that they are doing jihad. Only one Christian said that they are exercising crusades. You know which Christian was it?
George Bush.
Bush. And he was advised never to say it again, because then it gives out your designs. In fact, it is crusades. And that is what is happening now. Now, that is again the great dismay of the world. Then let's look at the place of religions. I go to a place of religion, let me give a comment on the arts and aesthetics. In the modern world, instead of art and aesthetics, there is only emphasis on novelty and noise. And noise. Loud. Your music is loud. I'm reminding you. There is a music director of Indian films, Om Prakash. He was asked, what is the difference between the old music and the present music? And he said, the old music came from our hearts, the present music comes from our knees. Which may be true. The dancing has become a combination of all kinds of logistics, sensible and nonsense. Now let's look at the place of religions. There has now been intimate interaction between religions. Previously, every religion could sit content in its own citadel and nothing would disturb it. And they were quite content that we have a great following and it's all right. Now this globe has become a village. And in this village, everyone knows everyone else. And so every religion has come to know every other religion. And so the question arose, who has the truth? Who has the whole truth? That has become now a major question. And since we have still not been able to give an answer to it, there is still therefore a great dismay. Then we started discovering, why have there been religious strifes over and over again in history? Why have religions been fighting against each other? So several divisive factions, trends in religions were found out. One, for instance, is exclusivism. Every religion thinks I have the whole truth and my way is the only way that can lead to salvation. Therefore, bring in everyone else into your fold so that you can provide salvation to them. That was conversion or proselytization. Proselytization of some of at the end of it. The second thing that is different from one religion to another and divides them is rituals. If you look at the rituals, you will find from one culture to another and from one religion to another, the rituals are very different. Say for instance, rituals of marriage, for instance. You go to anywhere and you find the rituals are different. In culture, sometimes people surprise you about the rituals and the models. For instance, I went to Nigeria for the first time, and in Nigeria, no girl can get married unless she has produced a child. So, a proof of fertility is a preamble to getting married. Now, it shocks us, but it is commonplace with them. So, rituals from one place to another are so different that they divide us, because and religions have their emphasis on rituals, their rituals. If they had no emphasis on rituals, things would have been different. Then is mythology. Religions have their mythology, not all, some. Hindu mythology is very different from Christian mythology or Greek mythology. Very different. Their gods are different, their goddesses are different, everyone is different in their mythology. So that divides, because you can't understand one person coming from one culture to another person coming from another culture. And interestingly, in this country, oh, I'm so sorry, I was imagining I'm in India.